Yep, I went blue.
I guess.
Yeah, it's light blue.
So you good to start, Craig?
Yeah, it's fine.
Let's see.
Yeah, he said yes.
He said we're good.
All right. We'll go ahead and kick off the September 9th meeting of the Keystone Heights Airport Authority. We'll start off with prayer. Is anyone in a good position to do one of those? David?
Sure.
Please.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we pause to give you thanks and praise for who you are. Thank you for your love, your grace, and mercy to us. Thank you for the privilege that we have and the freedom we exercise tonight to do the business of the airport. Give us wisdom, give us direction. Lord, we pray for our first responders, our military men and women, that you watch over them and keep them safe, bring them safely home to their families. Lord, continue to bless our nation. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. The pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. All right, for the consent agenda, first of all, did we get Jim on?
We need to do roll call.
Okay.
Okay, what were you asking? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
What were you asking?
If we had Jim on the phone.
It's calling.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message.
You can keep trying.
Yeah.
Mr. Kirkland?
Present.
Mr. Fryer?
Here.
Mr. Dagenais?
Here.
Mr. Ludwig?
Here.
General Leifer?
Here.
Colonel Burke?
Here.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Public comment, did we have any comments submitted?
Do not.
Okay. And I know Jamie wants to get moving, so we're going to kind of reorder this just because of his other conflicts tonight. So before we approve the consent agenda, I'll just let Jamie take the floor and address his some Heights issues.
Thanks, General Ledford. I apologize, gentlemen. I've got to get to the Save Our Lakes meeting at 7 o'clock, so get my spiel out, listen, stick around as long as I can.
Your call has been
And
forwarded
then
to
I'll head
an
on out.
automatic voice
Hey,
message.
real quick, I wanted to give you an update on the audits. We're both using the same company, Reddish and White. Obviously, we haven't got our audit completed. Since I'm having it, I'll give you an update on it. Reddish and White has had a problem working with some of their staff to get through these audits. They are reaching out to an additional company to try and pull in some more capability to finish the city audit as well as the airport audit. We think he believes that he'll have that manpower, that staffing to get on our audits no later than the 22nd of September. So not a great situation, but I do appreciate Reddish and White trying to work through it and get capacity on it to get us complete closed out.
Are there any penalties associated with us being late?
I don't necessarily know about for the airport, for the city, if the city was not actively communicating with the Department of Commerce and we were just blowing off submitting our audit, the city definitely has the potential to lose shared revenues from state income taxes. But we've been actively in communication with them to keep them updated as to what's going on with our audit, to let them know we just haven't received it from Reddish and White. So, well, as a matter of fact, I'm going to do another update to them probably tomorrow. Wanted to try and get to it today, but I didn't get it done.
Okay.
The next item I had was continuing to look for a candidate to fill seat 1. And right now we have currently one candidate. I'm not trying to rush and bring to the city council just one candidate. I want to make sure we've got a couple of good candidates to offer them. So I've held off on putting it on the 18th of September agenda until we can also push it sometime in October, hopefully to get some more candidates for them to consider for that to fill that seat. And the last one I had was just a quick reminder, and I'll be doing this with all our governing bodies for the city, is the sunshine law violations that we've currently heard. If you haven't paid attention to the St. Augustine Airport issue that recently happened, I want to say they had 3 board members forced to resign because they were having board conversations outside of a governing board meeting. And so I just wanted to make sure, and like I said, I'm going to be telling all our governing boards this, that we want to make sure that everybody understands that we've got your training up to date. And so if each of you gentlemen could just shoot me an email with either your last annual training date, if you're within the scope of, I think y'all have to require 1 hour a year for.
Four.
Is it
It's
the full
4
hour?
hour. Yep.
I apologize.
And we've given that information to Craig.
Okay, and
I have.
I'll just double check with Craig then.
Yeah, I've
Just
already
make sure
given him
that-
mine.
That he's got all that information, but we don't want to put y'allselves in that position. It's just not worth it. I'm sure those board members at St. Augustine would probably choose to do something differently this time around. Those are the three major areas that I wanted to talk to you all about. Well, I guess the last one, city is pulling together its budget. And so we'll have your budget rolled into the city budget and proposed for the first reading or the tentative budget meeting on the 18th of September. And we should have it, and then if our schedule holds, our final vote on the budget and second reading is on the 29th of September, and we should be done hopefully with this round of our budgeting efforts. Unless you gentlemen have a question, that's all I have prepared.
I have a question about the temporary construction easement for Crystal Lake Road and retention pond
Sure.
project.
Mhm.
Can you give us an update on that?
I can't, well, I don't have any graphics for you. If any of y'all have been out on Crystal Lake Road, on the other side, it ends at a turnaround. When that was built, probably 35, 40 years ago, maybe 40 years ago, right at that turnaround off on the east side of it is a retention pond. And it's fenced off inside of city/airport property. Clay County hasn't maintained it. I think Clay County didn't even really, the staff there didn't even know it was there. They've recently realized that the culverts that connect to that drainage pond were completely filled with sand. And they brought a pump truck out there and they were pumping on it. And they just kept pumping and it kept getting more and more sand. And they used up all their hose and we're still getting more and more sand. And they reached out to the city saying, hey, we think we're gonna need a temporary construction easement to get into that drainage pond. We think we're sucking sand out of the bottom of the drainage pond. And I said, I guarantee you, you're sucking sand out of the bottom of that drainage pond. And so I sent a note to them today asking for a copy of that temporary construction easement draft. And I know for sure on the city side that we're gonna need to probably just run that through the city council on the consent agenda on the 18th to get that approved. So that's where I'm seeing it from our side. I'm not sure if, Craig, if y'all have been advised differently or if y'all have any concerns.
Well, I think if it's on airport property, just my opinion, I think every document or agreement needs to go through our attorney for his approval, but other than that, I guess I don't know. I'm just confused as to why they need an easement, like what is on our property that they need. You say retention pond, when you look at Google Earth, I don't even see it.
That's why it's overgrown, it's
Oh.
overgrown with oak trees and palmetto bushes.
Gotcha.
It's never been
Back of the-
serviced, cleaned out. If you drive down Crystal Lake Road,
At the very.
you can look into all
end.
the other known drainage ponds. They're maintained, they're mowed, they're in good condition. Basically what's happening is that culverts just stand out in the middle of the drainage.
Didn't ever
pond,
mess with it.
nothing but sand.
Is it to the north, is it to the north of that cul-de-sac?
If you're looking at the
Side of our
gate in
gate?
the turnaround, it's
It's to the east.
Okay.
Directly to the east.
Right.
And that
You can't even see it.
cul-de-sac is actually partially on our property, on the airport property, but anyway. I got a quick question.
Sure.
About the candidate. Why are you waiting for another? We've had times when only one person is put in. What are we holding up for?
I would just say, we want to make sure we've got a quality candidate.
Okay.
Quality candidates to propose to the city council.
Well, the gentleman talked to me this morning, and just mentioned it to me.
Mhm.
And he said it has something to do with the zip code he lives in.
That's
not true?
He's not the candidate I'm talking about.
Okay.
So I'm saying you have
That candidate is
we have one qualified candidate, and I'm waiting to make sure that we have more than one qualified candidate. I
Mr.
believe
Fields is no longer a candidate?
he is not.
Why would that be?
If you look at the city charter and then the ordinance that it references,
Wow.
the seats, the 5 seats are Keystone Heights addresses.
No, that's
Yeah.
not true.
Well, actually it is. Jamie and I
Have
have
they
had this.
changed it?
No, so here's where the confusion is. There is an ordinance that states that. Obviously, that's for the 5 city seats,
Right.
because the Clay County seat and the Bradford seat would be outside of that.
Right.
They're at large.
But the other issue is that during the tenure of Mayor Mary Lou Hildreth, she was the one, along with that city council, that adopted the 10-mile radius
That's what I'm thinking of.
for potential board member candidates to be eligible to apply.
Okay,
So I think there's still some question out there about finding that information. And because the ordinance he's referring to would actually disqualify the general, myself, or anybody else of the 5 seats that don't have a Keystone Heights address.
right.
I have a
Seymour
address.
was 8 miles from the city too, so,
Well, Noel Thomas was even in that same area of McRae
okay.
when he was the chairman for all of those years as well.
So we've heard
so
that
that's
that's the
some-
way it used to be, but there, you can't find any evidence that ever
Yes, sir.
happened.
And if I go to see what's our current active ordinance, I go to a computer system called Municode, where
Okay.
the city has submitted all its ordinances and it organizes all the ordinances. And the most recent ordinance that's in our Municode is dated, I want to say 2010. And that's the one that defines the greater Keystone Heights area as having a Keystone Heights address, which would i.e. be the 32656 zip code.
That's correct.
For the 5 city seats.
Yep.
So what's gonna happen to these gentlemen?
I will tell you right now, I am dealing with seat number 1. And I've had a very similar conversation with Mr. Fields. He asked that, and I just said, hey, I haven't had time to dig into the history and keep finding things.
Well, that's
I'm
why,
trying to solve getting C1 filled, and we'll deal with the rest of the issues that may come from that address at another time, but not
I
right
think
now.
that's gonna put them in a bad spot.
Okay.
I mean, because they do have a hard time sometimes getting people to serve on these boards, and that's why I understood they expanded to begin with, because they couldn't get candidates, but you have to deal with whatever the ordinances
And
say.
if any of you gentlemen have that date when that was passed in the ordinance, but 2010 for Keystone Heights is pretty recent, if you look through our ordinances. So that's the guiding document that I have to operate off of right now.
Wow.
So.
Okay,
Thank you, Jamie.
I texted you Jim's number,
Call that.
his wife's number. Yeah,
Okay.
his phone's not ringing, but
So I wasn't understanding until I just saw the picture on the board here that the property that you're talking about is actually on that southeast corner.
Yes, sir. So it is, so here's the turnaround. Crystal Lake Road comes up here. The turnaround is right here. And the airport fence actually basically boxes around and goes out like this. Inside of airport city property, the pond is right in this area right here.
Hey,
And it's
Jim,
fenced off
hang on.
from
You're in the
the
meeting.
turnaround.
And so is there any action required from the board or?
Well, unless if Jim has a concern with it, or I doubt the FAA would significantly care about somebody going in and cleaning that
though,
pit
I
out.
don't know.
But I think from a city perspective, our attorney just wants to take a look at it and make sure that any major agreement, I can't do anything until the city council approves it. So we at least run it through the city council, through consent agenda, to make sure it's going in front of the city council. I would hold off on that if the airport authority had a concern ahead of me taking it to the city council.
Hey, is Jim tracking
Yeah,
any of
we
this?
got him. I don't know that Jim knows. Jim, have you had that conversation with Jim? Okay. Jim, we were having a conversation with Jamie Booth, interim city manager.
Okay.
And the city is looking at a temporary construction easement at the cul-de-sac at the end of Crystal Lake Road. They have a retention pond there. They're trying to get that cleaned up. And so there's some work that's got to be done. And they were looking for just this temporary construction easement across airport property to access that area. So we didn't know, well, we had mentioned to Jamie about once the easement document was available, that we could get it to you for your review. And obviously he would have Mr. Commando review it or prepare it, I guess, on behalf of the city.
And it's actually on, Jim, it's actually on behalf of Clay County,
Okay.
the maintenance department.
And give you my comments, if any.
Yeah, you have any comments on that? Other than we'll get the temporary construction easement to you for your review?
I don't have an objection per se to granting a temporary construction easement. And if there's an easement document to review, I'd be happy to review it.
Okay.
And I'm just still waiting for Clay County to provide that, so.
Excellent. Okay, any other questions for the city manager? All right, we'll go through the consent agenda. Looking for approval of the July 2025 financials, which you should have in your packet reviewed already, as well as the approval of the August 12th board meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
Make a motion
Okay,
for the approval.
Second.
in a second. All in favor of approval of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Okay, consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to reports, starting with Mr. Prang from AECom.
Okay, good evening. Passing out,
Welcome back from your vacation, by the way.
yes, I recommend vacations
Once a month?
as often as you can.
Where was yours, Bill?
We went to Cape San Blas
Oh, yeah, I'm in
and
Panhandle.
spent some secluded time on the beach with my family. Got to go fishing twice. I caught the biggest fish both times.
All right.
So that's not important.
That's what they all
I
say.
started to say, is it a keeper?
Yeah, they're 22
Was it a
inch.
keeper?
Both of them were 22-inch redfish.
All right.
One of them with a double eye, which I thought was fantastic.
You were doing on the surf, not offshore?
No, we were back in St. Joseph's Bay on the backside of the island or the Cape.
Right there by the nuclear plant.
Yeah, right where they grow 'em big. So
And they glow in the dark.
I have an agreement with my son-in-law. He's not a very smart guy in this regard, but I told him I
Right
would,
in with this group then.
yeah, I told him I would handle all of his construction projects until the end of my life if he would clean all the fish I caught.
Yeah.
So after he cleaned them, I put them on the grill. So he's pretty good at fish cleaning. All right, so the bulk hanger project. You've heard about this project for a number of times, but tonight it all comes to a head. You'll have a decision to make in a minute, but if you'll allow me to run through all these numbers, to remind you, this is the hangar that'll be built just beyond Wayne's Retreat, but sort of up to the back of the Potapout hangar. It has a 50-foot offset. This new hangar fronts taxiway A. We started this design maybe 10 months ago, and since that time, we have completed the design. We bid the project. I presented you with bid results at the June meeting. I have those again in a minute. I can show you that tabulation to refresh your memory. We did get several, we got, I think, 12 bids. One was around 888,000. In fact, if you look just at the top block, the uncolored numbers at the top of the spreadsheet, the total project costs are as follows. We've allowed a $2,500 administrative cost. That's to help you recover cost of advertisements and other things that Craig has paid out of pocket for things like that. That's consistent with FAA guidelines for an administrative cost. The design phase services were $99,626. We've expended about 90% of that. I have already presented, but you have not yet acted on a construction phase services agreement, which would be in the amount of $46,764 if you agree. And then, as I mentioned, the low bid contract value is $888,120. Total price, $1,037,010. Still pretty much within a couple percentage of where we started forecasting the project way back this time last year. You'll also recall that the funding plan for this project has always been using 5 years of the AIG BIL funds, that's Airport Improvement Grant, bipartisan infrastructure law. Airports of your type were granted 5 years of BIL funding. There's a formula, each year was a little bit different funding. And so 4 years of that funding is available. The first green box shows you the first FAA grant It is already in hand. It was recently signed and executed. And you can see there's 4 years of funding from 22 to 25, totaling 585,000. So to meet the full 1,037,000, you have 585 in one grant from the FAA. We today executed, actually I think this is backwards, the second grant got executed first, but the other grant you have is for 1 year of your non-primary entitlement funding. That's the NPE designation in the second green box. That's $150,000. So you have in hand grants for 585 and 150 from the FAA. Under the remarks column, you'll note that both of those grants in the green box are providing for 95% funding, and then the DOT is funding 5%. Okay? All right. Because we're only in the 4th year of BIL funds, your 5th year BIL funds are not available yet. They don't become available until after October 1st. And the FAA has already told us, even though we'll be in the new fiscal year on October 1, takes time for the money to get appropriated. So the earliest we could apply for that 5th year of BIL funds, this is the sort of brown or tan box. We've been referred to it for tracking purposes as the 3rd grant application. We could apply for that after January, so probably the February timeframe, we could apply for that. We've estimated $137,000. No one knows the formula for the 5th year of BIL funding, but for estimating purposes, we assumed that the 5th year would be at least as much as the 4th year. So we mimicked the 137,000 as an estimate. You'll notice though, at the header of my brown box, I did put estimated. I can't tell you exactly what that number will be. So down at the bottom in the gray box, you have 2 grants from the FAA already received, 585 and 150. We're forecasting an estimated 3rd grant from the FAA of 137,000. The DOT almost always funds the full 5% share to match FAA funds. So right now, right-hand column remarks way at the bottom on the right. The existing FDOT PTGA grant is for $38,000. They'll need to provide another $7,895 to get to the full 5% share. We don't have that from them yet, but we've requested that. And here comes the bad news. We've always talked about any shortfall in funding would be made up by the FDOT. And throughout the first 6 or 8 months of the project, they assured us, as soon as you have the numbers, we'll have the money. We had been forecasting on the high side that we might need $200,000 from the FDOT. They never wavered on that until probably 4 months ago. And it's not that they don't have the money, but from Tallahassee came a new directive not to provide any more FDOT funds for hangar projects. But that project type for the DOT has fallen out of favor. It's become ranked very low as a priority. And so as a policy matter, we learned a couple of months ago, they wouldn't be able, it's not a matter of not having the funds, they just, based on that policy, they wouldn't be able to fund any additional hangar money at 100% funding. So this puts you in an interesting scenario. Everything we forecasted was we were going to cobble together FAA and FDOT funds to fully fund the project. We now find ourselves $119,115 short. And I know nobody likes to be over a barrel, and I know the impression here is that I might be the one that puts you over a barrel, but you've already expended $99,000 that you will not get back if you don't continue with the project. And so just acknowledging up front, I know how that feels. If I was sitting in your position on the board, I would have a lot of questions, and I'm open to all of those questions. I don't know that I'll have great answers for them, but I think they're all valid questions. In fact, this might be a good time for me just to pause. You've had the spreadsheet in front of you. You've seen these numbers before. In fact, I think the very first time I presented The first batch of these numbers was on the board. I thought it'd be better this time to give you something you could take with you. There's even a place on the right for you to make notes. I printed it that way on purpose, because I realize this is complex. It's, you know, there's unique mathematics to this that I hope I can explain if you have questions about it. So let me pause there before I start making recommendations about what I think you should do.
How much does the door cost? Can you leave the door off?
I don't know how much the door costs, but you can't leave the door off.
I'm kind of
Both-
kidding, but
Both
it is a
grant types,
possibility.
yeah. So both grant types require that you construct a usable unit of work, and both of them would not accept a hangar without a door.
It'd be kind of useless.
And Scotty, you may have also been heading towards another question, which was, are there value engineering opportunities in this hangar? There are small opportunities for some cost savings. There's about $119,000 worth of cost savings in the project. But if you want us to pursue value engineering changes, what normally happens is you would enter into a contract, and then we would spend the first month or so talking to the contractor about what could be changed. Galvanized purlins could be supplied as red oxide primer purlins. The structural steel in the hangar could simply be provided as red oxide primer instead of the two-coat paint coating we're putting on it. You could go with no insulation instead of 3 inches of insulation. At the most, all of those things are going to save you maybe $30,000. And I'm not against saving $30,000. I just think you have to understand that when you do things like that, you have, you've accepted compromises, and those compromises probably stay for the life of the hangar.
Right.
And it will not be the same as, we've designed this one to match the same specs as the most recent one that was built here. I think you number this down here as 6, maybe H6. So you could use a different door system, although the hydraulic door system is far superior and has very little maintenance required. You still have to do all the site work and the tree clearing. There's really no opportunity to save there. We have to bring electricity and water to the hangar. So really the only value engineering changes are the 3 I mentioned, maybe 1 or 2 other small changes could be entertained.
Does the water require a new well?
No, we're just extending water from an existing well. So there's very little, there's some PVC pipe and 2 hose bibs.
What is the timeline by which we need to come up with the additional funds?
So you've already executed 2 FAA grants. You have the DOT grant of $38,000 already in hand. You probably need to.
I'm talking about the funding shortfall.
Yeah, the shortfall. I would say you need to act to have that shortfall secured either from existing airport funds or a loan source, possibly in the next 3 to 4 months. You will not have expended $760,000 probably for another 6 months. So the other funding has to be available before the spend on the construction gets to that point. So I think the question though, General, is to move forward with awarding the contract tonight means you're accepting 1 or 2 or 3 means or a combination thereof of making up the funding shortfall yourself. So.
Right.
I've got a question.
I see you, Frank.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The funding that you've already got, will there be some effort to claw that back, or do you get to keep it?
If we do not move ahead with the project, we will give back all 585 plus 150, 735. We're not going to move forward with the project. There's none of that available.
But there's already been some funds spent.
Correct. Give or take $90,000 on the design.
So both the FAA and FDOT money would be returned to those agencies?
Yes. Do you see any other scenario there?
I do not.
Yeah, but we would return those grants with black eyes, with black marks against our account in that case, because they have committed, both agencies have committed these funds to us and not committed them to other projects. So Is it within the realm of possibility to stop the project and give it back? Yes, but you'd be giving it all back and you'd be footing the $90,000 on your own. And that honestly, guys,
I mean, we'd have to pay the 90 out additional?
you've already paid us.
You've already paid it.
Right, right, but there's no additional.
But it would be for
90 that we
nothing.
would pay.
It would be
I
for
get
nothing.
that.
It's the 90 that you couldn't get reimbursed for.
Right,
They're
but it's
not
already.
We've already
been paid.
provided the services.
We've already provided the services, and for the most part, you've paid us 90% of that,
Right.
99,626.
So my question is, you've spent 90,000 so far on design. How much more would you estimate it would be to not, it seems like the most difficult change would be to narrow the building, but to shorten the building would be simple in my mind. Getting rid of the truss back there to make it 60 by 80, could we have enough savings to avoid this and pay you additional money for further design changes? You think design changes could be $10,000, or what are we talking about?
Scott, so I did not anticipate that one. I don't have that number handy, but.
I'm just thinking the wind load and everything's been designed for this structure. If you're just shortening the
So
depth of
technically,
it.
this will be a pre-engineered metal building.
Okay,
So we've done preliminary structural calculations, but the building fabricator will actually become the engineer of record to design the trusses, the frames, all the light gauge metal. So we would need to make dimensional changes and have them reprice that as a value engineering change.
I think that might be one way we could do it. I don't know if that'll work.
I don't
but-
think you're gonna get 119,000 out of it though. You
Okay,
may get a portion of that.
okay. And then playing devil's advocate, we paid 400,000 for that one down there 5 years ago. And now the price is more than doubled in just 5 years.
That's correct. Yeah,
So
that's
playing
consistent.
devil's advocate, where are we gonna get that size building with us spending $119,000 of airport funds? That's another way to look at
Well,
it.
there's nowhere else we could get that. You're right.
You couldn't.
Yeah.
I know one of the guys that bid on it, and he said, but the guys who won it came in pretty low. So
Yeah, it was a very competitive
Yes.
bid.
Yes.
I mean, I can share that if you.
No,
guys
that's
just wanna
okay.
participate.
I was just saying though,
There
that,
were 10 bids from 888 all the way up.
yeah,
to
and I knew one
1.7
of them, and he said, we got a good deal.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
So
Well, I think it would be in our best interest not to scrap the project.
I agree.
Another option we may have, I don't know, but typically when you have a 401k, you can borrow against your own money. I'm just throwing this out there. If we've got money in the bank and we could work a creative loan where we're borrowing against our money at a lower percentage
How
rate.
about your 401?
Yeah. We were all in favor to you.
I like where you were going.
My retirement payment, the 401's gone, I've already spent it. But,
That's a good idea,
you know,
actually.
is we might be able to do some creative financing by, now that would tie our money up, but in an emergency, we could probably get it back, the interest rate would just go up.
Craig has done just some fact finding, made no commitments, but I know Craig talked to 2 institutions, maybe heard back from one. I don't think it's out of the question to get a loan for this dollar amount. I don't know, did you run any rough numbers?
I did, and keep in mind, I'm not a financial expert, but he said the interest rate would depend on the term of the loan and the amount of money. But he said between 5% and 6%. So I just did a mortgage calculator, and basically for 10 years, 115,000, and I didn't have your number exactly, but $1,300 a month. So your hangar payment would just go for 10 years to pay off the loan, which is what we did with one of these hangars. I just paid it off since I started.
A lot of payouts, yeah.
You borrowed all the money to build that one and paid it off in very much that same manner.
Do you know how old that building was or is?
12 years old.
It's 12.
So you probably had a 15-year loan on that one because we paid it off early to
I
save
think that's
interest.
probably right.
That's correct.
And I guess what I was gonna say earlier was, I know that this doesn't really apply to this project, but I've been telling the board since I got here that the airport's been very fortunate historically that you had to pay no money to get anything here. And that's gonna probably change moving forward. I still think $110,000 spent for a 80 by 80 hangar, I don't wanna make it smaller, if you want my opinion.
Right.
I think
I
we
agree.
just-
I agree.
think we just find a way to do it and we make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, what do you should get $2,000 a month income roughly.
We'll have to look at that, obviously, but
So you would still, if you were paying $1,300 a month on a mortgage, and what'd you figure that at 10 years?
I did.
You're
We
still
can
got a
put this
net
in
gain.
15 and drop it a little bit.
Yeah, plus you've got a structure there that becomes ours in the end.
So, any other questions on the spreadsheets, shortfall, how we got here to have a shortfall? Again, I, only because I'm a grown adult too, I don't like being over a barrel, so I guess I'm not in a position to apologize that you're in this spot, but we thought we had a solid commitment from the DOT to provide the funding, and the people we work with at District 2, I believe, had every intention of providing the shortfall until Tallahassee told them, you can't put any more money.
Overrode them.
And you might remember anybody that has participated in any of the discussions with FDOT, they told us that in the context of saying you cannot add new hangar projects in your program in the 5th year. They told us if you have hangar money in your funding program now, it stays. We can't add to it.
Right.
We won't take away from it. But they put this in the category of we can't add to it. So we have 38,000 and they will not add the 119.
Which I'm gonna just make a comment here. If this is gonna be a statewide policy for the DOT, this is gonna change the economics of hangars in Florida. Because if the FAA rarely ever builds vertical infrastructure, this is one example. The DOT, and in other states even historically, is the agency to provide that money. If their agency is now not gonna provide money for hangars, you're either gonna have to build it yourself, or you're gonna have to have a private developer come and build, and historically, these agencies have wanted to price aviation hangars low for a reason. It was to promote aviation and all that stuff. That's gonna go away, because the guy that's spending his own money now has gotta get his own money back.
Right.
Hangar rates are gonna double.
It's actually more than that. The one guy that came in from Georgia, you remember him?
I think so.
I explained to him that he's not going to be able to compete with our hangar prices because we did the calculations on his. It was $1.5 million to build a 10
That's right.
T hangar, and it was going to be like $1,300 a month per unit. And nobody's going to pay that except if they get backed in the corner, and then that becomes the new standard.
That's exactly right.
And then if you've got a $500,000 twin, you'll pay anything. But
Dave Welch had a question.
I have a question. The funds that the airport has
In reserve.
are those in interest-bearing accounts?
They are.
I presume. Do you know what interest rate?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we looked at that in the last year in terms of opening up different accounts that would earn more interest. We just never did that because there were it was gonna change the entire way we banked with the banks, and
Gotcha.
dealing with the issues we were dealing with, we decided to not do that, but that's,
Where I was leading is 5% or 6% hurts my head a little.
yeah,
But so we're paying that as opposed to using the funds from savings
right.
and giving up some interest on that. So it kind of nets out something less than.
I prefer to keep reserves if we can. in this
Absolutely.
case, just especially some of the other stuff.
My point is it nets out something less than, say, 5%.
Right.
It might require us to look at our budget though. I mean, because this is an expense we had not anticipated.
Theoretically, you would start paying, if you got a mortgage, you'd start paying the mortgage as soon as you drew on it.
Yeah.
And within a short span of time, because you would use the mortgage to pay the last 20% of the project, you'd use the grant funds to pay the first 80%. And you would soon be collecting revenue on the rented hangar.
Right.
Yeah.
so we could pay at the tail end.
You would,
That's what I'm saying.
We would get the loan at the tail end.
yeah, you would probably secure the loan mid-project or so that it was ready.
Not
by
draw on it
project,
till the tail end.
But you wouldn't draw on it until the end of the project because you're going to have $700-something thousand towards the $1 million
80 by 80?
on hand.
How many?
I would say at least 10.
10 10 airplanes?
between single and multi-engine.
What, in that hangar? Oh, no, you won't get that many in there. Not unless you jam them. I mean, you gotta be able to get them in and out.
Yeah, we'll need some.
They've got 6 in this hangar down here, and it can be a fiasco at times.
I do not want to get into community hangar here. You're opening yourself up for
No, so I'm just wondering, how many tenants would we expect that we would have in this new building?
6 to 8 at most. But now you have to pay someone to go and move them all out because Bill in the back is always.
And we've
Yeah.
got enough on a waiting list, so we think we.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
We think we would,
Literally was.
there's no question in your mind that we'd be able to fill it as soon as it's.
Oh,
open.
yeah.
So at
So,
least we know we have that income anticipated that's realistic.
Yeah,
Well, and I think we would have to consider too, that whatever that rent amount is got to meet that monthly payment, obviously, and maybe some extra. So that gets split across 6, whether it's 6 airplanes or whatever. I think, I really believe 2 things I've heard tonight that I agree with, given this information. One, that Craig said that hangar rates have got to change. Now, they did go up 3% from our budget, but now we're hearing that that's probably not enough. And then the second thing you just said is we're probably looking at having to amend our budget prior to we get it to the city this month.
well, I'm not your budget master, but couldn't you amend your budget in the 4th or 5th month of the year,
Yes.
once you know
Yeah,
what
you
your
could
loan-
amend it anytime.
Yeah, once your loan.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
So
And there's a lot of unknowns with our budget with respect to,
Right.
what's going on with,
changes.
yeah,
With everything.
yeah.
So I don't want to prompt you or cut off any of the questioning and open thinking, but at some point, I guess I do want somebody to draw the net on, I don't think I am proposing that you pass a resolution to go take out a loan, but I think the board does need a voice vote to say we're moving ahead with the project, and in the next month or 2, you'll figure out whether it's a combination of your own funds, insurance, a loan, some of both, and possibly some value engineering to make up the shortfall. But to maintain the pricing that the contractor gave us, we need to move ahead so that he doesn't get hit with a price increase from all of his suppliers and subs. So I don't know how you want to do that. If
Haven't we already voted on agreeing to the pricing that's been presented?
You have, I think the only thing that's different, David, is the premise of the previous presentations of all this did not have a shortfall. We had indicated to you that we thought the shortfall would be made up by the FDOT.
Oh,
The
okay.
shortfall now belongs to you. And I think that's a piece that I'll feel better. This has nothing to do with protocol or the way the board operates. I'll feel better if I know the board has had a chance to ask all the questions and then at least a voice vote saying, yeah, this project is important. We want to keep moving forward with the project, get into contracts. That my next item is going to be to ask you to award a contract to the low bidder with a real vote, and then to award our contract so we can start construction phase services. So that was the earlier one. I said, I'm going to bring you to a point that this is where it comes to a head. So ask more questions or do more deliberations, and General, I'll let you decide how you want to draw a net around
My
this.
second question. Didn't we already vote on the low bidder?
You tentatively accepted the numbers so that we could submit the grant.
Yeah.
But you did not award a contract.
Oh, okay.
We typically don't award a contract till you have the grant executed. And we got the last.
So now we have the grant.
You got the first 2 grants executed. The second one was executed today. So the lion's share of the funding is now in hand. So,
Something we haven't mentioned is we're gonna have a new revenue stream happening here pretty quick, and we can just gouge that guy. I'm not pointing at Frank. Yes, on this Build Back Better money or whatever,
yeah, the BIL.
wasn't there also a time frame in which we had to spend this or we start losing?
Yes, so this is very convoluted, so I'll go slow. It's a 5-year program but you had to commit to a project before the end of the fourth year, or you lost the first year of funding. And when they first said that, I pounded my fist and said, that's stupid, because they put everybody like you in a position of having to move ahead with a project where you couldn't actually touch the last piece of funding until the next fiscal year, or the threat was you would lose your 2022 funding.
Are you implying our government is not efficient? How dare you?
This was ill-conceived from day one when Congress first put it forth, in my personal opinion, but it represents money for airports, so I'm not opposed to that per se. But yes, we did act, we had to take action to commit to a project, or we would have lost our 2022.
Well, I'm thinking too, is this is money that's going to slowly evaporate, that's there now, if we don't use it. The other thing that, when this first came out, I talked to Craig about maybe extending the ramp out. And we were gonna, what was our net gain gonna be, like 3 airplanes?
Yeah,
Because of the reconfiguration?
that's what I was gonna say.
This is a lot more value for the money than what we were gonna get trying to put in additional tie-down spaces.
There was nothing else we could do with this amount of money that would provide.
Yes.
Yes,
A usable unit.
great.
Right.
You had some other $5 or $10 million projects, but not, the only project you had that fit into this price range of the available funds was the hangar. And we set out, honestly, we set out to design a hangar that would maximize the use of funds. So yeah, could we have designed a 60 by 60? Probably. We'd be giving money back, that we'd be underspending. So again, General, I don't know how you want to draw the loop on this. You've already committed to 2 grants. They're signed and executed. The DOT grant was executed over a year ago. That money's committed. So I'm ready to move on.
I'll be glad to make a motion that, as we have already secured FAA funding and DOT funding for this project, that we extend a contract with the construction contractor.
I think the only motion now would be commitment to move forward with the project.
Move forward with the project.
And work with Craig and at a future board meeting to secure the shortfall using airport resources.
And for AECom to,
No, I think you need 3 motions, honestly.
oh, 3
I would
separate.
do them one at a time.
All right,
This first
to
one,
move forward with this
and
project.
make up the shortfall with airport resources.
And that's right,
That's the first
to
motion.
make up the shortfall with airport resources of,
I'll
what
second
do we
that.
decide?
I'll second that.
Okay, second. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Okay, thank you. I know I promised less numbers to the end of the report. So this next thing I'm passing out is from June, when we provided you with a listing of all of the bidders. This is a document that's printed front and back. The only thing on the back is my signature. So I'm not allowed to go there.
Try and consolidate the motion.
Yeah. Should also
So
say,
the low bidder
shortcomings will come from the
was
city.
JH Construction in the amount of $888,120. And our recommendation is that you award a contract to JH Construction in that full amount.
I'll make a motion that we accept JH Construction in the amount of $888,120. This will be FAA number 3-12-0036-033-2025 and DOT 440352-2-94-01.
Might need to add into that motion the 34 grand if he's gonna name it that way. We have 2 FAA grants.
Yeah.
Well, that's just to the contractor, their amount, right?
Yeah, I don't know that the FAA number, there's actually going to be 3 grant numbers total.
Okay,
I would just reference the project
That's
and
what I'm
the
showing
low
on mine.
bidder.
okay, I'll just amend my motion to grant to the low bidder, JH Construction, in the amount of $88,120.
888,000.
What did I say?
You left out the
Said 88.
Well, let's do it for 88. That'll solve all our problems.
Try.
Okay.
$888,000.
Okay, I'm in my motion again to accept JH Construction's low bid of $888,122 for the hangar project.
Second.
Any discussion? The only thing I would add is that you said 122. It says 122. I don't want to.
Give them the two extra.
Leftovers.
I stand corrected.
All right.
$888,120.00.
Boom. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? The ayes have it.
Okay, the third item, I apologize, I didn't bring copies of this, except signature copies, but AECom had presented also back in June a proposal for us to provide limited construction phase services in the amount of $46,764. That includes AECom doing all the technical submittal reviews. We'll coordinate all the technical engineering and construction items with the contractor. Either myself or one of our structural engineers will perform some periodic inspections on.
That was that number right there, right?
Yes, that's the number, third number from the top on the spreadsheet. We will not have a full-time inspector on site, but I'll be available once a week or as needed to inspect the site throughout site clearing, all the drainage work, and all the way to the final inspection. We'll need Craig and maybe Wyatt, whoever's on site, just to help with some of the coordination, making sure the contractor stays within the work site and the like.
So do you need a motion on this?
Yes, this is, you're approving, this is supplemental agreement number 29. Anybody that wants to make the motion, I'll hand you the paper and you can read right off of it.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Give it to Scott.
29, there's the.
You're gonna change the number on
It'll only take me 4 times to get it right. Give me a break.
All right, let's give it a shot.
I make a motion that we approve supplemental agreement number 29 for technical services to AECom in the amount of $46,764.00. And you won't get any more than
I don't
that.
want any more.
Here a second.
Second.
Any further discussion on this motion? All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, motion
Okay,
carried.
thank you for your patience. I will work with Craig to look at some value engineering changes, if there are any that make sense. And if so, we'll bring those back to the board at the next meeting. And I'll also help Craig just with supporting documentation to look at your existing budget and pursue banks for the other shortfall funding.
Should we also just discuss, like I talked about, maybe having Craig or his designee talked about the banks about creative financing, such as I suggested, maybe.
I don't care if the board member goes
You
and
know.
talks to the banks.
Well, I don't know, but I think we ought to look at various options or whatever.
Sure. Which, is that something you'd like to take on, or you have I'm not sure exactly what other creative
Well,
funding you're talking about.
I just talked about whether we could borrow money against the money we have in our account.
Right.
That does somewhat lock it up, and there may be a penalty.
So I want to add, when I talked to Capital City Bank, she was very reluctant to give me any info because it really depended on how much money we needed and what the term was gonna be. As Bill discussed tonight, there's still a 5th year of FAA funding. If something were to happen to that for whatever reason, we now need 240 or 250.
Because that's still an estimate number.
Yeah, 137 is an estimate.
Correct.
Right.
That's exactly right, actually. So we're not gonna have, so I think it's more conceptually, another discussion I had with another bank was, here's the concept of what we want to do, and that's how I got the 5 to 6%. But if there's other ways to get loans, I'm just not aware.
Although I think right now 5 or 6% is a pretty good rate in the current market, isn't it?
Bill, do you have any idea when that estimate number would turn into a final number?
January.
January, okay.
Yeah. I think we'll know by January what the formula is for your dollar amount.
But we're already gonna have to finance the rest of it before then, right?
I think you'll need to be in the process of financing by then. You may not have had to execute a mortgage agreement. So, and I don't, Craig, I'm also, it's been a long time since I got a mortgage. I don't know if there's a difference in the rate or terms for 120 versus 240. I don't know the answer to that. If you want
The
to have a
answer is
meeting
yes.
or.
I don't have details.
Yeah. Would either of the bank present a preliminary, even just an email format, like a deal in principle?
The way I see this happening currently is we present them with two different scenarios.
Okay.
The amount of money we need, and they would propose solutions based on that.
Well, I'm committed to helping you get through that, and if not by the next board meeting, within the next 2 or 3, we need to come back here with a real solution with the board.
What other projects you want to update us on?
So the only other things going on, that there's still environmental review taking place on the work that Clay County EDC funded. The FAA reviewer gave us some preliminary comments and distributed the document to the State Historic Preservation Office and the various Indian tribes that review environmental documents in Florida. So that was I'll call that a minor milestone. We had met their threshold to distribute it to the outside agencies. Now we typically wait 60 days for those outside agencies to comment. Lately, they haven't been commenting in 60, so you send them a reminder and wait 30 more days. So I would think within 60 to 90 days, we'll know if we're going to have any comments from tribal entities or state historic preservation.
Or tortoises?
Yeah, well, so what was found was really rather inconsequential. I'm referring to the 100 acres that's over here in this part of the property that Clay EDC was interested in getting ready for development. We did not find any of the bat species that are going to soon be listed as federally protected species. You have gopher tortoises. There is a impact there, but that's easy to handle. We didn't find any cultural resources, nothing that would trigger an in-depth review. The master plan is moving forward. We've been getting comments from the FAA and the FDOT on the first 2 working papers. The next stage will be ramping it up a little more, looking at actually some development alternatives. I think probably maybe early after the first of the year or springtime at the latest, we'll be ready to have what would be like a public session here at a board meeting where we could present what we've done to date, and you could publish that to invite anybody from the community that wants to come view and comment on the master plan. So just be looking at that after the first of the year in the springtime. And then the fence project, contractor's been slow to clean up punch list items, so Craig and I just continue to remind them to come finish up some last little bit of cleanup items.
Okay.
And I think that's all. I think I only have those 4 things going.
That was the easement, the power, David, you were working that, weren't you, the power move?
For the gate?
Yeah, that got resolved.
Okay.
The easement's all the way down from 100 to actually the airfield, to the
Okay.
old taxiway.
Yeah, and that gate is powered.
Yep.
So we don't have the camera installed yet. And again, there's some cleanup items that they've been slow to do, but I think that's the way construction goes these days. It's hard to get them to finish. We still have 5% of their money. So.
Okay.
Bill, are y'all still working, or I guess, is it just work backlog on our generators and our fuel farm?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Scott. So I know I've talked to a number of you one-on-one about that. At one time, I was trying to engage AECom electrical engineers on that project. And over the course of the last 9 months, 4 of them have quit and went on, all the ones that had that skill set. So about 2 months ago, I rotated towards hiring a sub-consultant to help us on this project. They've helped us on a similar project in Hendry County, and they did a good job on that. So I got a meeting with them tomorrow morning to engage them. I would like to say I could be back at the next meeting with a proposal to get that design work started. The funding for that is already in hand. It's 100% DOT funded. It's
And
for,
which one is that,
it's for 3 generators to back up this building, to back up the fuel farm, and to back up the electrical vault.
And the electrical vault being the runway lighting.
Yeah, the airfield electrical vault.
okay,
And then the fuel farm, is it again just backlogged, but just because y'all's workload?
Yeah, I've had a horrible experience with our own fueling designers, and I'm also moving away from them to a smaller sub-consultant firm. I know that's not, I'm probably saying this on the record and I shouldn't, but I have a fueling project at another airport that's not going well, and my own team is just not responsive, and that's part of the problem. So I am loath to enter into an agreement where they're going to support me here and do some of the same things. So that's not great, and I know probably no one's happy to hear either of those 2 projects continuing to lag. It's, you know, it's to my discredit that that's happening, but I'm pushing as hard as I can to get you a good solution.
Well, you're doing the best you can under the circumstances. You can't help
we'll just
outside
keep it for the
interference,
next
whatever.
meeting.
You're not the first one to mention that.
I just, every time we get in hurricane season, I think about those generators, and Craig has had to come out here, I think it was last year,
Yep.
and lost power, and he's running off of a Harbor Freight. And you might just contact Harbor Freight. They've got excellent little generators. We need about 30 of them. I can do everything, but he had to have that hooked up just to run, you know, some basic things. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Bill. Jim Taylor, you are next on the agenda. Are you still awake?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
I'm here. Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to appear by phone. Recall that in the firm lawsuit, the court, Judge Wright, expressed a desire that the parties attempt to reach a settlement through a mediation, and if possible, do that prior to the continuation of the hearing on October 17. That mediation has now been scheduled for October 9. The venue has not yet been determined, but the date has. And therefore, I need to come to the board again to request advice concerning that lawsuit, specifically in the context of the settlement negotiations that will take place at the mediation, so that the airport can develop its settlement position and negotiating strategy and things of that sort that parties have to do in the lead up to a mediation. I've got some dates when I and the 2 lawyers who are in the process of taking over the defense from me, the 2 guys, Fred Fine and David Wagner at Clyde and Company in Miami, that Chubb appointed. So I've got some dates in the near future when we might be able to schedule a shade meeting at which not only me, but also Fred and or David would be able to participate as well. So if the board is accommodating enough to hold another shade meeting, I think this time it's particularly necessary because we don't want to be devising our settlement strategy in an open public meeting so that our opponent firm has a clear idea of where we're coming from in the mediation.
Hey, Jim?
Yes, sir?
Quick question. If we did the mediation on the 9th, when is the next meeting with the judge?
The continuation of the hearing is scheduled for October 17.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
And in the shade meeting, the board will also need to address and decide who it wishes to be its representative at the mediation. The entire board need not appear. and the mediation rules specifically accommodate participation in mediation by a public agency such as ours, which has to operate in compliance with the government and the Sunshine Law. And so specific to our situation, the mediation rules call for the governing authority, here the board, to designate a representative. It could be more than one representative, but typically it's one representative to attend mediation on behalf of the board, have full authority to negotiate on behalf of the airport. And if a proposed settlement agreement can be reached with firm, then to bring that proposed agreement to the board in a public meeting for discussion and vote to approve or disapprove the proposed settlement. So that's the protocol that we'll be following.
So the next step then is the shade meeting. I don't think we're going to be able to get it in this week. And we need 72 hours minimum. So then I think we're looking at the beginning of next week, if possible.
The dates that I have that are good for me and the Clyde & Co. lawyers are September 16, 17, 18, and 22.
Okay. Let's start at the early end because I think we want to do it sooner if possible.
Yes, sir.
The board members, Bobby, you probably have the most restrictive schedule because of your work.
I'm available both the 17th or the 18th.
17th or 18th, not 16th? Okay.
What time of the day were we talking about, Jim?
For all of those dates except the 18th, it could be any time during the day. I am anticipating that it could be a 2-hour meeting. The one exception is on the 18th, it would need to be in the afternoon.
I just have a commitment on the 17th in the morning. I've got an appointment at 9:30 in the morning, but.
How does afternoon look on the 17th?
I'm good.
I'm not.
I'm open.
Like right after lunch?
He's not. What
You don't have to have me, but I
No.
can't do it on the 17th. I got a hard cat.
What,
Is 18th?
was the 16th also good? Did you say
No, you didn't.
10 or you
It
could?
wasn't.
17th and 18th. Or
I'm available on the 18th as well.
I can do the 18th.
What can you do?
I could do the 18th in the afternoon.
That would be that was, yeah, that was the time for the 18th. It would have to be in the afternoon.
Can you do the 18th?
18th, I'm good. What time in the afternoon are we looking at?
I can do it anytime.
Anytime in the afternoon from the lawyer's standpoint.
Let's start early in the afternoon in case.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock?
Yep.
That work, Jim?
Bobby?
yes.
1 o'clock
Yeah,
on,
so that would be September 18 at 1 o'clock.
yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay, Craig, I'll talk with you in the morning about getting the public notice out, and I will take care to obtain the court reporter. And I'll notify Fred and David down at Clyde & Co. that we picked the 18th at 1 o'clock.
Can you bring 3 court recorders in case 2 of them are sick or?
That's with our experience so far, Scott, that might not be a bad idea.
I'm glad she was doing better, but that was kind of scary, so.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so
Okay, and the meeting will be here in this conference room, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I anticipate that David and Fred would appear by Zoom rather than them have to travel up for this. I haven't had that specific conversation with them, but I had that in my mind. But I'm assuming that if they needed to appear by Zoom, that we could accommodate that.
Yes.
where are they at in Miami?
They are in Miami, yes.
All right.
And I don't have anything else, and if it's okay with the board, I will sign out at this point.
What about the designee from the board? You don't need that right now?
We'll do that in the shade meeting.
Yeah, I thought we would attend to that in the shade meeting.
Okay.
Just put it all in the shade meeting.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Any other issues for Jim we need to chat about before we clear him off? All right, thanks for joining, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Talk to you.
Thanks, Jim.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
All right, moving on. I'm up next. I don't have a whole lot to offer. I think actually Craig's monthly report will probably bring up some things that we'll all want to chat about. So I'll save some of my comments for then. But one thing, just to kind of keep you guys in the loop as I continue to work on economic development things with the Bradford County, Northeast Florida Economic Development Council. They've been bringing fairly frequent people through this LinkedIn account that they created for me, and I'm getting a lot of hits and interest on that for different companies that or business interests that have reached out to Amber and or me through LinkedIn. One of them, which I met with last week, is a guy named Larry Fries, who is based in Pensacola, owner of the company Aerial Information Systems Corporation. And he has a fairly small, 10-employee company whose services are basically involve custom UAS simulations with flight dynamics, sensor integration, and that kind of thing, consulting and training. So he expressed interest through LinkedIn on potentially investing in about 50 acres here to build or bring in this UAS facilities, testing pads, hangars, those kinds of things. I met with him through Amber on a Zoom call, and it was mostly just exploratory on his part, but he has interest in about that amount of acreage to bring this kind of UAS expertise to Keystone Heights. He's out of Pensacola, but he has property at Eglin. He's lost interest in that property because of the limitations that Eglin has put on him to be able to do some of the things that he needs to do. And so he thinks this might be an ideal facility or location given our proximity to the restricted airspace at Camp Landing nearby. So I just kind of throw that out there as a further indication of the interest in our properties from continues to look more and more like drone kind of expertise and either fabrication, testing, training, those kinds of things. And so we'll continue to meet and entertain interest from him and others. He's actually going to be coming to this area in early October to join us at the Northeast Florida Economic Development Council annual meeting. And probably on that day or so, I'll bring him out here, kind of let him tour our facilities and talk to him about the airport.
How many acres did you say? 50?
I'm sorry, 50 acres, yep.
Okay. Does it need direct runway access, or is that part of your discussion?
Yeah, we're going to have more of that discussion later.
Okay.
But again, it's just another one of those things that are interesting. I also have a meeting on Friday with Amber again and a gentleman from India who is part of a company called Irisha Group, and they have, potentially large interest in large tracts of land, potentially on an airport property. Some of it aeronautical, some of it non-aeronautical. Again, kind of leaning toward the UAS, electronic vertical flight, and that kind of thing. I've done some research on the background of the company, and it is a large international corporation with manufacturing, testing and development kind of interests. So I'll be meeting with them on Friday. As I get more information, I'll continue to fill you guys in, but just, in my mind, continues to show the interest that our airport is generating among industry of all different types, but more to
Yes.
follow on that.
How are these people finding out about us?
I think Northeast Florida Economic Development Council does a pretty dang good job for as small as
No.
county as Bradford does in getting the word out. I mean, Amber next week, I think, is going to Korea. It'll be her second trip to Korea with, in the Asia Pacific region, also expressing interest. So, and she's done a really nice job with my LinkedIn page. I think I'm getting like 150 hits a month, basically, for people that are interested. And it's basically just kind of selling Keystone Heights. It's not anything about me or my good looks. But, so anyway, all good stuff. And, you know, obviously kiss a lot of toads for you, find your Prince Charming, but this one is at least making some progress on.
And this Economic Development Council, is this the one you sit on now? Are you on that?
He used to, and I took
I
his
used to,
spot.
yeah, he took my
Okay,
place. This company from India had approached us last year. Amber.
Yeah, that's right. You sat in on a meeting with them last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is kind of continuing movement. I
Yeah.
mean, they're talking about, Amber is interested in potentially working through all kinds of different grant programs to assist with international developments coming to the country. And so it opens up other avenues for potentially getting things like water and sewage brought out to the airport. And, you know, they're talking in the, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars of development aid and that kind of thing. So again, not to
Provided
build it up.
at no cost, just being a member of the council, or
We
how does
pay
that
every
work?
year.
We are, the airport is a member of the Northeast Florida Economic Development.
We just pay
Corporation.
dues, but we benefit from
We pay an
these
annual fee.
annual fees.
Right.
Because I had mentioned
Chairman
to Craig one
represents us.
time before about maybe advertising through Trade a Plane, but I don't know how effective that is anymore. They have a section in there, Bill's shaking his head, no, you don't think that's,
the right track already.
you know, to get something out there, because aviation companies, I think, they probably use the electronic version now, but I mean, so that's something else to consider, but it sounds like you're making good strides with the system that exists now.
When you met with Arisha last year, what was your thoughts?
So they were wanting to get into the US. That was their goal, to get into the market. They were looking for some funding to assist with that. Their initial plan that they shared with April and I was they were looking at a technology hub type development that would be several hundred acres that would involve aeronautical and non-aeronautical as well.
Right.
So it's interesting, and I'm glad to hear that there's still that interest, that they're pursuing that. Amber gets hundreds, if not multiple hundreds, you know, per week, and she weeds through a lot of that. And there are some potential candidates for Tennessee here that might come from just their efforts alone. And Clay County EDC is doing the same thing. Crawford Powell has a similar
Right.
function. But Amber's been really, I mean, literally she's international as far as the information that she puts out about Bradford County and the surrounding counties and the airport.
All right, so more to follow on that. I think that's the only topics really I had to pile on there. And who's next, Dave?
I really don't have anything, but just to share that I'm signed up to attend a FDOT presentation Thursday afternoon concerning
Advanced air mobility.
advanced air mobility, right. So I'll share about that later.
Yeah, great. And then also next, well, maybe you're going to talk about it, the inspection
Oh, just,
that's coming up.
yeah, that'll be coming up, but I don't have anything on it other than just that it's coming up on the
Next Monday, right?
15th, on the 15th on Monday.
Yeah.
I might come out and just look over your shoulder just to learn something, because it sounds like you're going to do a lot of touring around the base and seeing what's,
Yeah, he's very thorough what he does, and I know y'all had discussed a little bit in a previous meeting last month. He's looking at the pavement, he's looking at the pavement markings, checking the lights, looking at the glide slope, and just, making sure there's been no major changes. And the thing that's normally fortunate for us, for most of it, we've not had any changes or any issues with anything. So most all that stays the same, and one of the biggest things that has a tendency to change a little bit is just if it's vegetation growth, whether it's something, getting closer towards that glide slope area or just something, coming in from the side, but hasn't been anything major. And I did, just after reviewing the meeting that I missed last month, I know there was a lot of talk about the pavement conditions and the paint markings and all, and that is always a topic, and what he'll check for is the condition of like the glass beading that's in there for the reflectiveness of the paint. And, so far it's been still acceptable, but those are some of the common things there.
so you're meeting at what, 12:30?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool.
I'd like to elaborate on that further too. I did that inspection with David Smith for a number of years, and Bobby's picked it up. I know Craig made the effort to get I'd call it a sweeper, I don't know, a scrubber, to try to clean it. They tried pressure washing it. The degradation.
The numbers you're talking about?
Yes, the runway numbers and stripes. We tried that before, and I think Bill advised us maybe to back off of that because you actually do more damage than good. But it's my opinion, and Bill, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But when David gives us a bad score on the pavement or on the painting, it's not a bad thing. He's trying to help us because as the DOT sees that score is going down and down and down, that's what prompts the numbers to come back in our favor, I think. And that's what David had explained to me. He says, this isn't a strike against you. I'm not trying to make your airport look bad or deficient. We're trying to let the powers that be know, that we're degrading.
Right.
And the paint needs to be done soon.
Gotcha.
Just for what it's worth.
And just to add to that too, and going along the lines there that Scott's talking about, I believe it was last year, they actually had some of the members that were kind of over some of our budgeting for the FDOT that were here that went along on the inspection too, so they could
They
kind of see it
typically do.
firsthand.
Yeah, Donna was our
Are
rep.
they gonna be here Monday?
They'll usually be here.
Yeah, I'm
Somebody.
not sure, I don't
I think
know.
they are.
Okay.
Craig, didn't Chris Nelson say she was coming?
I think so.
Yeah, I think the new DOT District 2 rep will be there on Monday.
Awesome. All right. Anything else, Bobby, since we're on you?
Just real quick, I just wanted to say, I know there was a new addition for last month's meeting there, but with the monthly report, I think, there, the manager and you guys had discussed, that actually it's very informative.
Yeah, I think so, too.
I really appreciate being able to look back and see, because there is a lot of things that are going on
Right.
at any given moment
Yep.
out here, and this really, it gives us a very good thing to kind of, there's even if you try to stay up on everything, it's very
Right.
tough sometimes.
Absolutely.
So this is really nice, and it kind of just gives you something to go back and reflect on.
Yeah.
So I think that's very beneficial there in a welcome change. And the only other question I kind of had is, I know y'all had discussed a little bit, but about the fuses there with the new keypads. Have they been tested yet? Because I know there's been some lightning storms while I was away. No.
At least all the gates are working now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's always been an issue. It's been a
Sure.
problem throughout the years for most airfields. And that's all I have.
Okay, great. Scott?
I would second Bobby's comments. I think the report Craig's putting together is very good. Kind of keeps you up to date. I'm out here a lot of times anyway, but I'm even learning some things from it. So
Yeah, it helps to make us just better board members, I think.
yeah, it does. But that's all I've got. Thank you.
Bet. All right, David? Kirkland?
Nothing to report,
Okay.
Chairman.
And Buck?
I got 10 things I'd like to talk
All
about.
right, let's hit 'em.
They're not on the agenda.
And you're on sort of number 9.
Paying for dinner too.
You're not gonna let me do it.
I'm good.
All right. All right, Craig, if you don't mind, start with your monthly report. I think it'll generate a few questions.
Well, I don't plan to go over this report every month.
I do.
Online.
I do.
Just ask if
I do.
anyone has any questions.
I think it's awesome, man, and I think like I said, it educates us as to the big things that are coming up. So we do have a tenant update, or a lease update actually coming with, Tyson here. But let's just go over this thing real quickly. The non-aeronautical uses, is there any update on the, food?
I've not heard from her. She said she had to go talk to her bank and she's never reached back out.
Okay. So does she have like a lease checklist?
I don't know if I sent her one or not, but she's a little bit of an anomaly because there's gonna be no permanent improvements there. It's
Yeah.
very simple.
Yeah. But we will expect that we would do a lease with her?
Oh, of course we will.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at some point, we got, we'll have to, I don't know if it'll require like a survey and, any environmental stuff. Do we know what?
None of that for her.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else.
I got a question if I can interrupt.
Please.
Craig, under financial overview, grant status on the hangar roofs, is that RIF? Does that stand for Rural Infrastructure Funding?
Yes.
I won't even know who is that?
The
Is that,
Department of Commerce for Florida.
okay.
They had a $22 million pot of money they identified.
Oh, wow.
But they limited, I didn't know this until I got down to the wire on submitting the grants, that they limited each project to a maximum of $300,000.
And that would do maybe one of those roofs.
Oh, they had to be submitted individually as individual applications.
Okay,
So each one was roughly 175 and 200, depending on which building it was. I submitted a well for the
Public well,
to be
yeah.
replaced. They actually, the Friday they were due, they actually called me and they have been watching our applications and wanted to make sure we submitted applications. And I told her what the three were that day, because I was waiting on quotes, so I had current quotes. And she said, absolutely, make sure you get that well application in. I think they may be focusing on water type projects.
okay.
And then she went as far as to ask which one of our hangars was worse and would need attention more first, meaning you might get one, but not the other.
And then maybe a year or two later, we could submit again, or?
If they have another type of project like this, maybe, but I was just surprised that they were monitoring us individually.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. How did you find out about them?
I got an email, I think, that they were just having a workshop, or a presentation, so.
Okay.
I just attended that.
Good job. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Financial overview, things looking good, expenditures,
That will, just so you guys know, month to month, that's gonna fluctuate.
yeah, absolutely,
There are some months where we have a 3 paycheck month that obviously throws things off.
right,
There's months where we've had to buy fuel to replenish what Rockland bought, but they don't fly this month. That's gonna
Yeah.
throw them way up.
yeah, right. That's
So,
good. Just
I don't want
helps us-
anyone to freak out, because last month was the first month and it was like a $25,000 deficit.
Yeah,
It fluctuates month to month. so.
we didn't freak out, did we?
A little bit,
Just a little freak out.
yeah.
All right. Talked about the business attraction already a little bit. New aspiring tenant checklist progress. So Paragon 13, status of that. Why don't you give us an update from?
Well, I had that separately on the agenda, but I just haven't sent an update from Tyson. Sorry, something happened here on my computer and I lost.
So we talked with Bill this week about next steps for Tyson, and I don't know if he got your notes, Craig, on the discussion we had with Bill on next steps.
Bill can elaborate. I'm sorry, I got a technical issue.
No, that's right. Go ahead, Bill.
So this is what the next steps would be for Tyson?
Yes.
So there's three main, I know your checklist has more items, but there's three main things that have to be done before, frankly, anybody can develop on and adjacent to the airfield. There's an environmental checkoff,
Which for that property is.
which I understand for the parcel he's interested in It's within the boundaries of the environmental assessment that was finished in 2023, I think. But there is still a step there where he would need to submit a development plan showing his parcel size and shape, and maybe identify with some block diagrams what the function and purpose of those will be, just so the FAA can say it's consistent with what was studied. So for instance, crazy example, if he says he's going to put up a 200-foot tower, they're going to say, no, that's not consistent with what you said your plan was. You were going to build light manufacturing, light industrial, light commercial, and aviation uses. So they want to see that it fits within the same categories that we studied.
But it could also be a phased plan too, right? Where
I think
initially just wants the.
I think the first step there can be very preliminary. So you need to, what they look at is they look at purpose and need is the way they would define that in their environmental language. So what's the purpose of the property? What need are you meeting? And what's the functionality going to be? Would be things like number and type of aircraft, number and number of employees. So, you know, they just want to see that, again, if he says 100 employees and 10 truckloads daily, they might say, hold on, we didn't study traffic levels at that intensity. So they would tell you to do another step. But I think from what I've heard, he's going to be planning to do something that fits well within the environmental assessment. But there is a step there to say, dear FAA, this is what's being proposed for this parcel. Please do a concurrence review to make sure it's consistent with the environmental assessment. Pretty light lift for that checkoff. The second one is, you know, defining lease boundaries.
Survey.
And, you know, some sort of a survey or at least a preliminary parcel description so that they could define acreage. The FAA can review what the adjacencies are, what the land use is going to be. They're going to want to look to see that it's aeronautical or non-aeronautical or mixed. So again, that comes out of some of the parcel drawing, the functionality, and a narrative description of what the development's going to be. And then you always have to get the notice of proposed construction, which is the 7460-1, used to be the form, and we did that form in triplicates.
And that's only if they're building something on it.
Well, technically that's for any development. So if you're building just an apron flat work, they want to see that. But yes, the primary reason for that is airspace review. But that gets distributed to all branches of the FAA. Everybody gets a chance to say no impact, or hey, this might concern us. Like the NavAids group is going to say no impact. You're not impacting any NavAids, you're not building any NavAids. They're going to just check it off quickly. But that process has to be done for any proposed construction of any kind. We do that on all of your projects,
Right.
Any usage, any parcel development has to go through that.
Even if it's no vertical development at this
That's
time.
correct, yeah. Like we would do it for an apron, as an example. And just for the board's knowledge, you probably know this, but on every project we design, we do that as part of our design process. We do our own preliminary airspace review. We never submit something that we know is going to fail. So we're doing our own preliminary review, and then we submit it as a function of just processing through the system. So there's those three things, the land use and use designation, the environmental checkoff, and then the 7460, the notice of proposed construction. And I think those can be done in steps, and they can be done with preliminary information first, get some feedback. Eventually, for instance, the notice of proposed construction, they want you to submit your actual design drawings. So the environmental checkoff and the use checkoff, kind of a preliminary lease review, those can be preliminary, but eventually you need an engineered site plan and a building plan to get the proposed construction approved. That's the one that probably has the biggest lift in terms of effort. I don't know how much more you wanted me to report.
Well, no, I mean, what I'm trying to do is facilitate a swift movement
Yep.
from a business standpoint, because I hate for people sitting around, twiddling their thumbs, wondering why they can't move get their business moving forward.
So I'm going to give you something this is probably mainly my opinion, and no one coached me to say this, but I think the ball is in Tyson's court to make a full-blown proposed submittal.
Okay.
And I would say do that through Craig first, let Craig maybe vet it through me. I'm happy to help just look over Craig's shoulder and give some input before it goes to the board. We may say, hey, that's not gonna fly, or this needs more description.
Well, then we need the lawyers to, write up the lease, and we need the surveyors to
Right,
have
but-
specific surveys.
So I heard you with, you don't want people spinning wheels to get a
Right.
slow start,
Yeah.
but there's also steps to follow so that Tyson's not spent money on something that just gets kicked back and has to be redone.
Yeah.
So there's sort of a logical step by step, kind of think of it as a checkerboard moves. You move one move at a time.
And that's what I tried to do when we put together this checklist, or the
Yep.
lease checklist, but we don't know what you know.
Yeah.
And so, I think our checklist may be missing some steps, and
No, I reviewed the checklist. It's pretty thorough. I think what the hidden nature of the checklist is you can't do all those things at the same time.
sure,
Or
Yeah.
you wouldn't if you were being prudent, because he might end up spending money,
right,
and Craig would spend time and effort on things that are either folly or they don't pass muster on the first go.
right.
So, and I'm giving you one other opinion, and I'm open to this discussion. I've told this to Craig privately. It's generally our policy, AECom's policy, not to work for your tenants. Because when I work for your tenant, I'm no longer your
Yeah, conflict of
independent,
interest, sure,
I'm no longer your independent reviewer because I did the work.
right,
In saying that, I have worked for one of your tenants before. So it's not a hard and fast rule. As a company, we sort of have a bottom threshold for dollar value and size of project.
yeah,
I think, no offense, Tyson, you seem like a really nice guy. You probably need another engineering firm, but it's not us. And I have volunteered to go to meetings, sit in meetings, help with, hey, think about this, go find this document. I'm not against helping, but if you engage us under contract, if he engages us under contract,
right,
I can't be your independent
yeah, Yeah, I get
reviewer anymore.
sure,
But I think to get this started, Tyson doesn't want to do any
No.
building. It's
I
simply a
think-
land lease.
I think I think if you wanted to start with a land lease, you just need a simple, maybe a hand-drawn graphic that's drawn, I say hand-drawn, use some sort of computer, PDF software or something, draw something on top of an aerial photo that is a pretty good representation of what size and shape of parcel you want, and then a narrative description of what your actions are. You might have already submitted that, and I haven't seen it possibly. I see David Dodge, and he's looking at something.
yeah, I don't know if it's as specific as what you would want.
Give us a summary.
Yeah, but a 1 or 2 page submittal would give Craig something to forward to the FAA to say, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Yeah, I mean, so just preliminary, this needs some dimension, so that a size can be given to it. It looks like this encroaches on at least one existing lease, so that would have to be rectified. But I just think there's some work there that needs to be done before you have something that's ready for Craig to submit to the FAA for preliminary review.
Okay,
What lease do you think this encroaches on?
It looked to me like that was gonna bump over part of Cloudbusters.
Oh, I think it's right on the edge. I think,
Okay,
I don't know, but,
so that would be a good descriptor to say,
right.
point to it and say, no encroachment on existing lease, and maybe just put some dimensions on it. It looks pretty close to the end of the runway. Do we know that it's not in the RPZ?
Yeah.
Well, that'll have to be defined.
Yeah, so I
It
could get
wouldn't
it.
be, it would not be,
So
obviously.
the graphic that he presents then should have the
Should, yeah.
RPZ on it.
Yeah.
And if you need my help coming up with a page that has the basic shape of the runway safety area, the RPZ, the taxiway safety area, I could provide that, and then he could draw.
I think
On top of
I have
that.
those Google Earth, from the
You
FAA.
have the KMZs.
Yeah,
Just give him those.
Yeah.
And maybe draw on top of those. Remember too, that right at the edge of the RPZ, you basically have 0 height. You gotta be back a ways for
Right.
anything to go up against the 7-to-1 surface.
Right.
So
7 to 1.
7-to-1
Yeah.
on the sides.
Can I ask another question, Bill? Is it allowable to build within the building restriction line if you're not over 35 feet?
It is. The building restriction line is shown on your AOP drawing. It's a reference line that's drawn for a building at elevation of 35 feet above the ground line.
But are
It's
these,
not
are
hard
these
and
hangers
fast.
35 feet that we have here?
Yes.
They both have obstruction lights. I was just curious on their height.
Yeah. And, yes, but the building restriction line is not a hard and fast line. You can build beyond the building restriction line if it's lower than 35 feet. Keep in mind too, this is math for just a minute. The building restriction line is based on a single elevation, which is at the geometric center of the airport. So just as an example, if that elevation is elevation 200, and then there's a line drawn at 35 feet, if your elevation on the site is actually 190, you have 10 feet to play with. So it's a reference line. It's just a broad determination. It's not a hard and fast line.
That was serious math there.
I didn't know that, actually.
And I wasn't too far off with 200, was I? I tried to
No,
pick a
you're not.
reasonable number. You have a runway in that's 195, if I remember.
196.
196.
Oh. That's why I'm not a pilot, guys. That's why I'm
4 feet
an
off.
engineer.
Don't worry about it. I just missed your bid by 800,000. Give or take, you know.
I don't know if that was helpful, General.
Yes, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how we continue to make it so that it's easy as it can be for these guys. Almost seems like you need a little working group between the engineer, need a lawyer to help with the lease wording. We need, we need surveyors or somebody to be able to, whether it's part of the engineering firm or whatever, but all this, I think, ought to, in a perfect world, be something that we can present to a proposed, a prospective tenant and go, here's our team to help you get moving as
Well-
fast as you can and, building on our
For
property.
what it's worth, most airports put that burden on the developer. The developer goes and gets all of those resources and brings that on their side of the dollar signs, if you will. The airport has the land and is willing to accommodate, but very rarely will an airport go to that effort at their own cost.
Right.
Even at big airports, just unless it's like, again, a major economic thing that's got state support and it's gonna build 300 jobs. Those sometimes the airport is investing its own funds, but for a regular type of aviation development that's sort of on the smaller scale, most airports of your size would be telling the developer to bring all of that.
Okay.
And bear the cost of that.
Including surveys and all that?
Survey for a lease is typically, yes. Yeah, they would do that. You would define it in principle, and then they would go have a surveyor draw it up, submit it for review.
Okay.
So Bill, would it be fair to say that, so like, let's say Tyson wants to put a modular office over there,
Yep.
which, is a trailer basically, and drill a well and do that and start simple first. Then he can go ahead and complicate or build up. It'll still have to be approved, but at least you can get in on the ground floor and start operating.
I think
That'd be the
starting out with
fastest way.
something simple that has a relatively short lease term is a good idea.
Right.
I mean, it gives him a chance to get a feel for what he's gonna do and how it's gonna work. A short lease term gives everybody the chance to get out also, whether it's 1, 3, or 5. Say, hey, this isn't working for me or you. Let's either modify it or just back out of it. And no, a development plan doesn't have to be complicated. It could include, a rectangle that says modular office, a fabric structure that says 60 by 80, 20 feet maximum height, show where it is on the site. Well, septic, I mean, it could be that, entrance roads,
Aprons,
parking.
and-
Yeah, just like the basic things you would identify in a site plan, which could be drawn without engineering level of accuracy to get an approval going.
Right.
Is that kind of what you're thinking, Tyson? You start out small and then see how the business develops and then,
Short term.
because you don't want to go over there and spend build. You've just heard what this hangar is going to cost. You don't want to go build $1 million hangar
Exactly.
and then the business not work out the way you planned.
Yeah, and I'm kind of just keeping notes for myself as I go along, as a tenant at the airport and a local, person in the community, that it's somewhat frustrating, but it's like, as we try to grow the airport in general, these are gonna be things where you're gonna have, bigger developers that are interested in the area. But if there's so much bureaucracy, they're gonna look other places too, that has more of a streamlined process too. And then also just trying to figure out what's the minimum viable solution to get something going. That's what I'm kind of seeing here too, is, without every time, everything, not exactly 25 years, full deal, but just to get, a phased approach, I guess, would be the thing too. So that's something I'm just personally doing as I keep going. So whatever comes out of this, always be able to give to the board, to the area here, of like, hey, here's some hurdles that I found frustrating, or here's a way I feel like we could expedite or go forward. Because you look at some of the other hangars that, can go in the last few years, this is some bad examples of things were rushed to, I think, without a lot of thought, but at some point it wasn't that hard to get going here, and it seems like it's becoming pretty hard to get going.
There's a distinct difference between getting a land lease and a hangar lease. Just in terms of the way the airport views it and the way the FAA views it.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, even if some of this is where land leases to build hangars,
Do you have any of those?
What's that?
You don't have any land leases where somebody built a hangar.
I think,
Really
College
old
of
one.
Missionary Aviation is.
Yeah.
land lease.
College of Missionary Aviation,
Very old one though. There's not any current ones that are newly,
not old, yeah,
recently formed.
yeah.
But even with the college, they still had to do the 7460.
Yeah.
They also had to do the environmental. So there were still those steps at the upper echelons, whether it's FDOT or FAA, that had to be complied with.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's part of the learning process too.
Right. It's just part of that process.
Knowing you can't control the FAA, the bureaucracy there or whatever, although Craig's developed a lot of friends there on first name basis, but is it realistic with something as simple as what he's got? Could he be operating in 90 days? Would that be reasonable? Or are you thinking 6 months or what? And you can't be held to it, I know,
Yeah.
but
So the traditional time period for a 7460 review is 90 days from when you submit it.
But we don't need that if we're not building an apron, we're not building anything to start. It's just a land lease with nothing on it, using existing pavement.
so you might just have porta potties
No
there.
modular building, no sprung structure.
That's the answer.
Dirt.
Then that's what your phase one
Just
proposal
dirt.
should say.
2 tracks to the sand.
That's, yes, but understand that before you built the building or moved a modular in, you'd have to do that.
Yeah, that's my personal thought on this, is to the board of, minimum viable, right, to get going, right? And even as I propose proof of concept, the stuff I'm targeting is rotary wing aviation stuff. I've actually been facilitating rotary wing aviation stuff around the airport, buying fuel doing that, and just doing it wherever fit. The church is trying to build, business out of it. So really absolutely nothing to get going, without much at all for structure. I basically want to put out a spike and land a helicopter and then coordinate
Sure.
for fuel to come over and pay for fuel. That'll get going, that builds some revenue. And then my plan would be to, hey, this is actually working. It's turning into a viable business. I'd like to propose to the board, an addition of, I'd like to bring in a modular structure, and is that something that's going to have to go up? This is me, I'm learning, every time you're going to expand the scope, go through the whole process, back over again.
Yes.
Yes. It's good to know, so that there's kind of finding that happy
Can we
balance.
start with the larger, I guess, the ultimate project, and then start small and amend it as he goes along? And get that larger group?
Yeah, but if the first phase, what?
But even with the first phase, it sounded like he's at the point where a survey would be needed to identify exactly
So
4 corners or
I
whatever,
think you gotta identify the lease and have a lease,
with the boundaries.
survey lease boundary.
Yeah,
That's a minimum.
make sure it doesn't encroach on something else where it
You
shouldn't.
need to, Craig, with support, Craig needs to make a submittal to the FAA and say, this is a planned development. We want concurrence, agree that it's concurrent with the environmental assessment. So we checked off the environmental box, the lease box. If there's no vertical infrastructure, no new apron construction, you wouldn't need a 7460 until you were ready to do that.
And that would confirm there's no horizontal encroachment either.
Correct.
Yeah.
That'd be the survey.
Yeah.
Well, I think you could do your own review that parked or staged helicopters are not a height violation.
Right, right. But as far as the lease premises itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Would him even putting
I
a,
would discourage you from writing a lease that abuts the RPC.
Right, right. Absolutely.
we kind of know about that already.
Right, just, I don't know exactly where the where he wants to operate, but let's give a wide berth there just so we don't even invite that type of scrutiny from anybody. That just seems like a
To avoid
good
that
idea.
particular complication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I don't think he's close. Tyson and I have had all these discussions.
Okay.
I think we're fine.
you're probably ready to make a submittal then.
I mean, you can look at it right on that and see that it's not gonna be, I don't think that's gonna be an issue either, so. Are you planning on putting a fence up?
Initially, no.
Okay, you just want a chunk of land,
Yeah.
preferably dry, where it doesn't sink, no swamp land.
No trees.
So how quick could that happen? You think that'd be within the 90 days,
I
or?
think so. I think you can get through the two low hurdles within 60 days if you submit in a couple of weeks to the FAA.
And even myself, and it's maybe even some feedback, and I don't have to it almost seems like I'd be willing and, I suggest like submit something and then let the FAA kick it back. Because at this point, kind of part of the frustration is just a board meeting once a month, to figure out what you should have figured out during the month. To then come to the next board meeting and then like, all right, I got this much. It's like, well, that's pretty good, but now we gotta go again. It's like, I'd rather just kick it to the FAA and just say denied for following reasons. Cool, pick those, fixed, resubmit.
Well, at this point, it's just
Is that-
identifying the boundaries of what Plan B's will be.
Yeah, and which is good. I mean, every, like I said, every meeting, getting more information.
Well,
Going forward, I hope to at least like try to put this as an example or provide examples.
Yeah.
Why can't we, as a board, go ahead and approve it tentatively based on the diagram he's shown and then let Craig and the attorney work out the details? Isn't that what we pay the attorney for? Or Bill, do you think that's a bad idea? I mean, does the airport, you said he has to do all the legwork with the FAA, right? The airport doesn't.
No, it should always come from the airport.
Okay, it'll come from the
The
airport.
documentation that Craig would submit. I would not recommend Tyson contact the FAA directly or make a submittal directly. They always want to know that it's been coordinated through the airport manager.
So would it be tentatively good to go ahead and approve the lease?
Yeah, but you don't know what you're approving.
Yeah.
You don't know
I think
acre.
we need a survey,
You don't know exactly
we
where
need
it
a
is.
survey,
I'm gonna get the survey first.
then we need the lawyers to develop a
Review it.
case
Okay,
with the survey in mind. And I would think.
With the
let's do those
identified
two
boundaries.
things. I mean, and I don't see any reason why we couldn't get those done before the next meeting. And
That
then,
makes sense.
and then we submit that to the FAA, and then clock starts ticking on the, hopefully 60 days or less, if we can get it 60 to 90. But then at least you're not waiting on us for anything else. That's what bugs
Yeah, no,
me is
that
when,
makes sense.
Yeah,
when we're not giving you what you need to be able to move forward, and it's frustrating for you, so.
yeah.
so have you already contacted the surveyor?
Yeah.
For starts.
That's easier.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, do you feel comfortable with way ahead?
Yeah, I believe so. It seems like, I guess my question is just like going in general too. So survey, that's like, again, this is to Bill's point. I'm glad you're offering up is I hate to like pay for a survey, from a survey, company that's like, then find out that it's not the right survey type of thing. That being said, 25, 30 years ago, whenever you wanted to propose a land lease, you had no idea what the long coordinates of your lease was. Right, well, now, everyone in their pocket, I can give you, I survey runways tactically all over the world and land airplanes, and part of what I have to do is put in coordinates, and I use the commercially available, even Trimble type systems. Like, can I provide 4 corners that have a latitude and longitude without having
I
a
think so.
surveyed firm?
For your preliminary
Preliminary,
diagram, yes,
review.
but
yeah.
not for the actual lease. The lease will need a signed and sealed
That's correct.
survey
Yes.
to support the lease.
I think the FAA could review what he wants to.
I think preliminarily, yes, you could provide lat-long coordinates from
Let's do that.
your phone probably. Or from within Google Earth just move your mouse around, it gives you coordinates.
They use Google Earth, so we're gonna.
Right,
use it.
right. I think that would be of a sufficient level of detail for them to review it.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think I got, what I need for
Cool.
now. And again, that's not really that frustrating. I've got nothing but time. I don't plan on going anywhere a long time. But it's the learning process. And then my thing too is through anything I do is trying to document and not reinvent that wheel for myself right
Yeah.
now. So I think this has been a good learning
Yeah,
experience.
well, we
Yeah.
submitted this thing back in May, here we are
They
in
go past
September, and
Right.
it's- I feel like,
7:58 right now.
It's on, it's like,
Yeah.
if I was to take all over
Yeah.
it, once I get it approved,
Right.
it's like, here was my 5 things
Yeah.
to pass on. to the
Right.
next one.
unfortunately, we're learning with you
Yeah.
because this isn't something that we've done before, so.
But no, yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay, good. And hopefully, next meeting, we could have you be ready to vote on